very serious situation, which is that the danger of cyber attacks against the United States is clear, present, and growing.
For details and analysis, we turn to our guest tonight on Capitol Insider. Cedric Leighton is a military intelligence officer and retired U.S. Air Force colonel. He's also the president of Cedric Leighton Associates. Many people are asking, what is this bill and why do lawmakers consider it so important, Cedric?
Well, it's the major legislative effort to really secure our cyber networks. It's been a long time in coming. They've been working on this issue for over 10 years, and there have been several versions of cybersecurity legislation that have been, one passed the House, a couple others were being considered by the Senate, but the Lieberman bill, the Cybersecurity Act of 2012, really has the best chance of becoming law.
So give us a before and after. What's changed?
For this particular bill, the basic thing that has changed is that voluntary cooperation, which was a hallmark of the previous bills, of other bills, is now a hallmark of the Lieberman bill. All mandatory aspects of it have vanished. And the other part of it is that they are working on an information sharing piece for this bill that is really copying a lot of what the House passed Cyber Intelligence Sharing and Protection Act was all about. So they've fused some elements of the CISPA Act from the House with privacy elements from the ACLU side of the debate, as well as changing things around in that respect.
Depending on which side of the fence you're on, it sounds good, but are you happy with it? Is this a watered down bill, though?
It's definitely a watered down bill, Morris, unfortunately. Now, the basic idea of a cybersecurity bill is a good thing for the country and really for the world and for the internet. The problem is that there are fairly few teeth in this legislation. A lot of the voluntary aspects of this legislation make it very difficult to enforce. It also makes it very difficult to secure any type of response to an active cyber threat, and that becomes the major issue.
So the U.S. Chamber of Commerce had an instrumental role. It had a lot of input. Is that unusual for them to do that? I mean, they're involved in a lot of stuff. The Chamber of Commerce is like this sleeping giant we don't report on, but they've got a lot of lobbying going on.
Yes, they do. They are very active legislatively and in the lobbying efforts.
So what do they have to do with cybersecurity?
Well, cybersecurity, their main concern was that there would be too much government influence and too much mandatory government efforts put into the legislation that was going to pass here if the Lieberman bill passes. So what the Chamber of Commerce lobbied for and ultimately won was, instead of mandatory provisions, there would be voluntary provisions for the Cybersecurity Act, and that in essence is really the business world's view of the whole cybersecurity issue.
There's a lot of focus on the Defense Authorization Bill on Capitol Hill. How does that impact this legislation?
There's a procedural impact. Basically, Senator McCain has been in favor of putting the Defense Authorization Bill first in the legislative agenda ahead of the cybersecurity bill. Senator Reid, the majority leader, has said no. The cybersecurity bill will go first, and that in essence is a tussle that Senator Reid has won, and that bill will now be, the cybersecurity bill will be considered first by the Senate.
And as we were taking a look at lawmakers on the floor, what are the chances in the Senate and the House?
Senate, very good. Passage, I would expect, probably by a 60-some vote to 40-vote margin, I would expect. In the House, a little bit more iffy, but I believe that most people will see this as the final compromise that is possible in this current legislative environment.
Is it because it's an election year, or would we have these problems regardless of politics, with the way it was watered down, what people want, the privacy issues?
Well, I think it's partly an election year issue, but it's also part of the way in which people look at things ideologically. On the Republican side, very serious concerns not only on the privacy side, but also very serious concerns regarding the mandatory nature of some of the elements of the bill. The fact, though, is that the internet has to be looked at as a utility, and the problem that we have right now is that the internet is looked at as something else.
Right.
It is very much a utility.
It's the Wild West, among other things. Cedric Leighton with Cedric Leighton Associates, good to have your input tonight.
Thank you, Morris.